Welcome back, YouTubers. So today I am going to show you guys how to make a blueberries and cream tart. It's a little bit of a tedious process. It can be made over 2 days, but we'll see how it goes. So let's get started and make this absolutely delicious blueberry tart. Let's get started. So in your mixing bowl, you're going to add 1.5 cups of flour, a half a cup of powdered sugar, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and you're going to whisk that all together. Next, you're going to add a half a cup of unsalted butter into your flour. You want to chop the butter up into really, really small little squares, little pieces, and it has to be really cold butter. You're going to put it on your mixing stand and you're going to let it mix until it is a very crumbly texture. While your flour, butter are mixing, in another bowl, you're going to mix together 1 egg and 1 egg yolk, a splash of vanilla, and a 1/4 teaspoon of clear vanilla, and you're going to whisk that all together. The texture of your flour and your butter should be a really fine crumble texture. If it's not getting to that point, you may have to just work it by hand a little bit. Once you get the crumbly texture, then you're going to add your egg and vanilla mixture. You're going to put it back on the mixing stand and let it mix until it forms a ball of dough. This next part, you're just going to work the dough with your hands a little bit. So as you can see, I still have some flour left in the bottom of my bowl. So I'm going to work the dough with my hands in the bowl itself. I'm not going to put it on a floured work surface. I don't need to. I'm just working it enough to make sure all the flour is worked in, and I want the dough to be a soft, smooth ball of dough. Now, most recipes at this point would say take your ball of dough, flatten it out on some wax paper or plastic wrap, and put it in the fridge for about an hour to chill. I've tried that. It does not work for me. My tart crust completely shrinks when I do that. So I'm not going to do it. I'm taking my dough right away and I'm going to be putting it in my tart pan. And I'm going to start by putting it all around the edges. I want to make sure my edges are thick enough that they can hold the filling. If they're too thin and they break, or if they're too thin, the filling is not going to sit in it. It's all going to run out. So I'm starting by building up the edges of my tart, and then I'm going to take the rest of the dough and just spread it out on the bottom. It doesn't have to be a thick layer, but you also don't want it to be too thin. Basically, it's like playing with Play-Doh for adults. So just work with your dough, fill your tart pan, and then we'll go from there. All right, so my tart shell is almost ready to go into the oven. I'm preheating my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. I have a flat bottom measuring cup, and I'm just trying to flatten out the bottom a little bit better on my tart because I have so many finger imprints. Squish my edges a little bit more so they stand up a little taller. I have it so that it comes up over top of my tart pan because it will shrink a little bit or a lot. We'll find out. But if it's going to shrink, I want it to shrink down to the right size. So I did go over the top of my tart a little bit. Then you're also going to want to cover your edges, maybe not right away, but halfway through the baking. You're going to want to cover them with some tin foil or one of those pie crust silicone savers. Don't forget to take a fork, prick the bottom and all the way around your tart shell to help it from puffing up in the middle. Then you're going to bake it for approximately 30 to 40 minutes or until it is like a golden brown color. So as you can see, I had the pie saver around the edge. I can pop it off. It's been cooling for a little bit, but my edges are nice and thick. They didn't shrink up too much. It's just lightly brown. So this is ready to go into the fridge for a couple hours or overnight. You want to make sure it's completely cold before adding your filling. For the filling, I'm mixing 1 cup of heavy whipping cream with a 1/4 cup of maple sugar. If you don't have maple sugar, just use regular sugar. And you're going to whisk that together until it forms soft peaks. While the whipped cream is whipping, in another bowl, I'm mixing together 1 cup of mascarpone with a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar and about 2 tablespoons of maple bourbon syrup. As you're mixing that, remember to taste it to see if you need to add any more flavoring or a little bit more powdered sugar if it's not sweet enough for your liking. Remember to always taste it. If you don't want maple bourbon syrup, of course, use any flavoring that you would like to do with this. So you're going to mix it all together until it is smooth. Now that your whipped cream is ready and it's soft and fluffy, you're going to add your mascarpone mixture to it. And you're going to mix it or whip it until it's almost like an icing texture. It'll be definitely stiff peaks, but it's almost going to look like an icing texture. Just remember, you can over whip it and then you got to start over. So keep a good eye on it. Keep checking it. Remember to stop the mixing, scrape down the size of your bowl, but you're looking for roughly an icing texture. After reaching that icing-like texture, as you can see, it is really smooth. It's creamy. It doesn't quite have those like stiff peaks as if I was mixing just whipped cream. It's better. So it's very smooth. Now, after tasting it a couple of times, I have decided to add roughly a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more of some actual maple syrup. Give it another little mix just by hand. I'm not putting it back on the mixer. And my filling is now ready. All right, ready to put this all together. So my tart shell is completely cold. It's been sitting in the fridge for quite a while now. My filling is ready. So you're going to put the filling in your tart shell and you're going to fill it up almost to the top. Almost. Leave like about 1/4 of an inch from the top. Don't fill it all the way to the edge. Basically, I am leaving about a blueberry width from the top because that's what I'm using on the top of my filling is blueberries. You can use whatever fruit you want, whatever topping you want, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So I ended up using about 3/4 of the filling that I made. The rest of the filling, I am going to save it and I am going to use it on some pancakes this weekend and it's going to be absolutely delicious. All right, so here's the part where I get fancy with this tart. And you don't have to use blueberries. That just happens to be what was on sale at the grocery store. I would have liked to do peaches, but it's not peach season. So blueberries it is. I have washed them and dried them really well. I wanted to make sure they were really dry. And then I'm just going to place them, I guess, a little bit methodically on my tart because I'm a little OCD sometimes. I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I wanted this to look perfect and I wanted it to be all very even. You can do whatever you'd like. Design it however you want. It's your tart. Make it a representation of you. Have some fun with it. So what I've done is put my blueberries in a consistent circle all the way around the tart. Or kind of. I did my best. I had to fill some holes here and there. All right, so once you have all your berries or whatever you're using for a topping, I'm hoping it's some sort of fruit because next I'm going to show you guys how to make a glaze for on it. So because I'm using blueberries on my tart, I decided to do a blueberry glaze. So I'm using about 1/2 cup of blueberry jam and I'm going to kind of cook it down, melt it, whatever word you want to use for that. Basically, I'm cooking it down a little bit with roughly 2 tablespoons of water and a tablespoon of maple syrup. And I'm just thinning it out. That's all I'm doing. I'm warming it up, thinning it all out. You might need a little bit more water to help thin it out. Now, if you aren't doing blueberries or you don't want to do blueberry jam, of course, you can do any type of jam you want, really. Typically for a glaze, a lot of people will go with an apricot jam or a peach jam, something that's really, really, really light in color so that it adds a gloss to your tart, but it doesn't change the color and doesn't affect, the coloring of all the fruit that you have on your tart. So I did blueberry, and mine is, it's not a blueberry jelly, it's actually blueberry jam. So there are chunks of blueberries in it. And what I'm going to do is once this is cooked down, I'm going to put it through a fine mesh sieve because I don't want all the chunks. I just want the liquid from this to use as my glaze. Okay, so I forgot to mention that your glaze, you want to let it cool a bit. Do not use hot glaze on your tart, okay? So after letting it cool for a bit, all I'm going to do is start spreading it on to my blueberries with a pastry brush. And I'm going to use pretty much all of it that I made because I'm going to use it to sort of fill in. Yeah, I'm using it to fill in all the little gaps between the blueberries. So as you can see right now, there's a lot of white showing through the top, through the berries. But when I'm done with the glaze, it's going to be one beautiful blue top. Look at how beautiful this is turning out. So now that all the glaze is on, it kind of looks like a really delicious blueberry pie. It is glistening. So I'm going to put this into the fridge. I want to give it time to set and just kind of settle a little bit before I cut into it and see how it actually turned out. But as you can see, my crust is nice and thick. The blueberries are shiny on top. It looks amazing. So into the fridge it goes. All right, you guys. So that was a bit of a tedious process. I had to make the crust twice because the first time it shrunk. Second time I did not, I didn't chill it and it worked way better. So it's up to you if you want to chill it or not, but for me, not chilling it worked. This is how it turned out. Looks amazing. The filling is holding up beautifully. It's holding its shape. Let's see how it tastes. It's delicious. It's light. It's packed full of flavor from the maple bourbon and the blueberries. It's a great combination. Very presentable. And I can't wait to eat this. So that's it for today's recipe. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. And I will see you guys all for my next recipe.